All right, so we got all three of us here. We each had the chance to drive a different truck on all those trails. We didn't necessarily share the trucks, but we got to see how they performed differently. What do you guys think? What'd you like about the truck you were driving? What didn't you like? What'd you notice about the others? What do you guys think?
I'll go first. So I drove the Tundra, of course, full size, big. I mean, we nicknamed it the Gray Whale, right?
Yeah, what was your sound?
Put him on the spot. Put him on the spot. Yeah, there we go.
But so I come from always having a full size, right? I don't think I could do a smaller truck, right? So so it wasn't anything crazy to me, but this was my first time being able to see the Colorado, the Tacoma, that smaller size truck really perform. Yeah. And it blew me away, right? I mean, the Tundra was great. Every obstacle that we went over, the Tundra handled it just as well as the other two trucks, but on switchbacks and, different things, it was tight, right? Yeah. And definitely if I went up there again, as much as I love the Tundra, it would be probably more fun and a little bit more enjoyable to ride or drive the Colorado or the Tacoma.
Yeah. How was the pucker factor on some of those switchbacks where it was tight?
It was there, right? I mean, the nice thing was these two, you guys took care of me. You spotted me, or you showed me the right line, or you helped me out.
Didn't make you sweat too bad.
Yeah. There was never a part, there wasn't a point that I was like, oh crap, white knuckling it. But there was definitely times, I think coming down, Imogene, our last trip, coming down right into Telluride, it was tight, and we had to pass some people. I mean,
some other full-size vehicles.
Yeah,
so we had two full-size vehicles on the trail.
That's probably the tightest spot that we hit.
I think so.
Think?
Yeah. There's
a couple of those sections on the backside coming into Telluride.
For sure. There's some other, more exposed switchbacks that were going on, but nothing that tight that made me go, oh crap, I better really pay attention right here.
Yeah. So I just to touch on the Tundra really quick, I drove the first year we got the Tundra in 2019. That was my last time in Colorado. That's what I drove on most of those trails. And I kind of felt the same way. I mean, 35-inch tires, right? So that and the Colorado had the same size tires, but it must be the long wheelbase, right? That thing didn't slip a tire either when I drove it. And I don't know that did you ever see the Tundra slip a tire?
I don't think it even lifted a tire.
I don't think it did either. And we had a couple of those, what is Yankee Boy Basin, right? That there was climbing that hill, there was a couple holes, and it got a little, I remember, I don't know if it was the Tacoma or the Colorado, but one of them, we could see it, just teetering.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you're right. It never skipped a beat the whole time, right? So I mean, awesome. As far as that goes, it was an awesome truck. And of course, there's a couple spots where we hit our back bumper. A couple different
drug the back end,
drug the back end, and good thing we had some protection there, right?
Some bumpers, some CBI bumpers, baby.
Right. When you backed into that cement block.
We were just testing it.
Yeah, we were just testing out the bumper. That's all we were doing.
Held up.
It did.
I think Kenny was driving.
It did. What are you talking about? It was Keegan. It was Keegan.
So Kenny, what did you think of the Tacoma?
I was actually pretty impressed with the Tacoma. I mean, honestly, there were a couple spots where, I mean, super impressed, especially going up some of those waterfalls where the trail actually did the water crossing, and there were some rocks in there where you said earlier that we played around a lot in. I was super impressed with the fact that, I know we got into a couple of sketchy situations there where you had been on it before and I hadn't, and you could see that I was getting into a spot where I might,
a hole in the water.
might tip the truck, and so I had Nathan's pucker factor going more than mine, I think. But no, I was super impressed. I mean, even with the water and the slickness of the rock and everything like that it was still able to just rock right up that. Even having problems with the front locker.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a few complications with that front
locker.
locker.
Didn't work, right?
Yeah, it just
Our
wouldn't
airline
engage.
wasn't connected.
Yeah, the airline wasn't connected. So, but even with that, I was still able to do some pretty impressive lines. Obviously, we didn't have to do those, but it was fun to test it out, see what we could do, see how good we could do. But I mean, honestly, I seeing that ZR2 perform, I really like how well it flexes. It keeps all four tires on the ground. really impressed with how that truck did.
tell us about that, right? This was my first chance driving the ZR2 on those trails. We have 35-inch tires on this ZR2, so it's a little different than our previous one. A little bigger than the Tacoma, so it, you know, changes the comparison a bit. But, you know, give us your perspective on why the Colorado flexes better than the Tacoma.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the Colorado, the springs and the shocks are set in just a little bit. They're still straight up and down, so you still get that nice stability in the truck. But the way they have the geometry set up on that back end, it just allows that rear end on that truck to flex a little bit more. I mean, there's such a thing as too much flex, but I just, you know, that one seems to be dialed in just perfect. I mean, you like I said earlier, it keeps all 4 tires on the ground. You can go on something, you know, have a hole on this side and that rear axle will just flex, and it keeps that truck nice and stable, nice and straight, you know. And the longer that axle can drop and stuff, the more level your truck will stay and keep you from pitching side to side. So yeah, that was one thing that really impressed me, especially being, you know, I know it's not a stock suspension, but it's not much more than a stock suspension. I mean, we have some upper control arms on there, and the coilover conversion from Peak. I know we have an aftermarket leaf pack on the back, but again, all in all, just the stability of that suspension that they came out with, I was super impressed with.
Yeah, I was, you know, in the times that, at least that I've been to Colorado, I haven't always hit all the hard obstacles on every trail. And I feel like we did that. Every trail we hit, we took the hardest line we could. And each truck was a little different, right? They responded differently, but I was surprised with how well they all did, really. Even on imaging, right?
Yeah.
Near the top, pretty steep. I remember looking at the gauge on my truck, you know, 23, 24 degrees.
Not only steep, but you had, I mean,
and off-camber stuff.
You're crawling over boulders and holes, and, you know, it's pitching you this way and that way and this way.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, every way you could think of, it was pitching you. So, yeah, it was
a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was awesome. All right, so we've talked about the trucks, but let's talk suspension specifically. I mean, to me, that's a huge part of off-roading and how the truck performs, and how as a driver we like it. What do you guys think of the suspension? How did it compare truck to truck?
I know one of those nights we were coming down off the mountain and you were cruising, right? We were doing that. I remember you radioed us, hey, Nate, slow down a little bit, right?
I didn't call him Nate, I called him Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah.
I was starving, man.
And it wasn't a smooth road.
No,
right?
it wasn't.
There's poles.
There were some big puddle holes, like,
Yeah, deep holes.
I mean, like pothole
Yeah,
poles.
yeah,
And
hanging out the back half.
yeah.
and I mean, the Tundra handled it like it was nothing, right? Like I felt like I was on a pretty good road, and we were mobbing. So
Yeah.
so as far as that goes, I was blown away.
But what suspension do you have on the Tundra?
Dude, you tell me, I don't know.
Both the
Cut it right there.
and the
Cut it right
Tundra.
there.
What a rookie, he doesn't even know the suspension.
Cut it
of the
right
truck.
there. What is it? What suspension's on it?
So Icon, right? So both what Kenny was trying to say, the Tacoma and the Tundra have Icon vehicle dynamic suspension, and we've used Icon for years now.
Yeah.
I mean, we really like their stuff. Works really well.
It really does. And on stuff like that you were just talking about, that's really where it shines, really soaking up those you know, rough roads, those washboard roads, you know, just that suspension is made to move, you know, especially high speeds, things like that. So yeah, I mean, really got a chance to put it through its paces and see what it's capable of.
Yeah. Plus, both those trucks have the higher end version of the Icon with the CDC valving, so you can tune it, you know, as far as the fill that you're looking for, the compression that you want. So that's got to help.
Oh
on
yeah,
those roads.
for sure. I mean, we kept ours pretty soft for that reason. You know, just it made for just night and day difference driving down those roads with that higher end suspension. I believe we have a stage 9 on the Tacoma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the best of
And
best.
it showed. You know, it was definitely, you know, compared to, you know, other just stock vehicles I've driven or anything like that. That Icon suspension is a night and day difference.
And I would say that's one place where the two Toyotas definitely outshine the Colorado. The Colorado, because it's the ZR2, that factory suspension I think is great, but once you start adding all this extra weight and changing it, it's hard to maintain such a high quality ride. We do have the Peak suspension coilover kit on the front with their upper control arms. And to me, that helped dramatically over our last Colorado. The last Colorados felt soft, right?
Yeah.
Everything just felt kind of mushy and soft when you're turning and even on road.
Well, and you bring up a good point with the weight as well. Like, that was something I was super impressed with. I mean, even going over all those trails and all that rough terrain that we went over with all that weight, we had all our gear, we had tents, everything like that on those vehicles, and we're just bombing through those roads like nothing, you know? Yeah. And I mean, again, it just goes to show what a good suspension will do for a vehicle, to transform a stock vehicle into something that's totally the next level.
Yeah, plus we aired down, right?
Sure.
So that coupled with suspension, I mean, seems to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And we spent the entire time in Colorado aired down, which was awesome.
And Keegan, do you know why we aired down? No, I'm just kidding.
So what about like your favorite, I mean, again, we were driving different trucks. We didn't really switch, but what's your favorite accessory or part on the truck you were driving?
I would say coming soon, the Tundra rear bumper.
Yeah, why is that, Keegan?
Saved my butt. I don't know. It just did.
Yeah.
It just did.
Just did.
It does its job.
The only
Does its job.
150-year-old concrete on the mountain I think Keegan found.
Keegan found
These my spotters were not.
They weren't there. They weren't there. It's the spotter's fault.
So that saved my butt. Held up. Did its job.
Yeah.
Maybe a little fresh powder coat, but that's about it, right?
But honestly, I mean, you hit it pretty good.
Yeah, you
and
did.
It didn't do anything to it.
Oh,
I think you moved it.
I was.
Like, I don't think it was meant to be moved, but
I
I
thought
think you moved
Nate
it.
was just gonna send me home right
Yeah.
then. I was like, I gotta drive home.
Hang your head in
That's
shame.
it. That's it. We
We
kind
going
of
up Engineer Pass, stopped at a little mine shaft or whatever you call it, right?
and it was a decent sized clearing, right? And we were getting out. We were done. So we're heading out and put it in reverse. Look at my rearview camera, see the piece of cement. And in my mind, I was thinking it was on this side and not on this side. So I just turned right into it. And about the last half second before, I hear people going, no,
Stop it.
smacked it.
I tried. The words
Smacked
just
it.
wouldn't come out.
And I felt like an idiot, right? And I mean, like an idiot.
Yeah.
And get out, Nate's laughing. He's like, that's what it's made for.
Yeah.
So,
Test it.
so that saved my butt, right? And we bumped it a couple other times, right? Going up and down obstacles,
You know, on some of those steep inclines.
And did its job. You wouldn't even be able to tell that we even touched it, right? So
No, not at all.
did its job, and that impressed me, right? I know the quality of our bumpers. I understand that, right? But being able to see it is just just confirms that hey, we make a solid product.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can attest to the same thing with the side steps on ours. I mean, we designed those not necessarily to be a rock slider, but the fact that it worked as a rock slider for me was great. I mean, I did kiss a rock coming around a corner, and it got into that side step pretty hard.
Coming down that steep incline on Poughkeepsie? Or
No, it was coming down Yankee Boy, actually.
that was
It was
Yankee
coming down
It got
Yankee
tight.
Boy.
There's a couple spots.
Yeah,
down
it was on one of the corners coming down Yankee Boy, and yeah, I just got too tight into it. Didn't even see the rock, and it just came into the bottom of that slider, and I was impressed. Like I said, it's not a product that we advertise as a slider. We advertise it as a step, but it did a good job protecting the side of that truck. So.
And wasn't it our prototype set? Wasn't it you and I in Moab that hit a couple rocks and jacked up the brackets on the bottom? And it surprised. I mean, we hit them way harder than we should have.
Absolutely. But, but the bottom line is we replaced a couple brackets instead of the bottom of the truck.
The whole bottom.
Yeah.
That rocker panel or even the door.
Yeah, and that's a hard place to repair if you have to repair it. So
expensive.
Yeah, I mean, saved a ton for sure.
What about you on the Colorado?
You know what? I was just I was thinking one of my favorite parts, just from a look perspective, is the roof rack. So we set up the roof rack a little different. We have the Pelican case on the one side, the water port on the back, which we didn't even use in Colorado. I thought we'd use it actually, but we were just go. And then the Rotopacks up front with the light bar. I just like that configuration. I think it's pretty versatile. But to me, the most important on the Colorado was the covert bumper with the skid plate. And that skid plate integrates perfectly with that covert bumper. And there's a couple spots with rock, you're driving down a normal road and there's boulders in the trail. You're trying to you know, miss your diffs on and things like that. So it was nice to have that skid and that lower covert bumper. Sure. That's what I thought.
It looks good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks good. You're talking about looks with the roof rack. Same with the bumper.
True.
And it maintains the factory look of the truck. You know, right. you keep the factory look of the truck.
Yeah, totally agree.
So of the three, if you were to go back, you could take one of the three, which would you take?
I think I'd take the Colorado to Colorado.
I would definitely take the Colorado to Colorado. I mean, I've driven the Tundra and I've driven the Tacoma there, and I thought it performed the best.
As long as I wasn't going with a lot of people and have to have someone sit in the back seat, it'd be the Colorado, no doubt.
So we're all in agreement.
No
I
doubt.
guess the Colorado's
Colorado won the trip.
The truck for that trail.
You know, honestly, I mean, for us, we've been doing Toyota products, right? For years and years. Toyota is our go-to, but that Colorado, I think, impressed all of us.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So, okay, well, it's a good trip. We had a blast.
We did.
When are we going again? I'm ready.
You tell us when.
Yeah, you're the boss.
We need to plan a trip.